Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody. Coast to Coast, This Week in America. Close Friends Cathedral Adventure by Anne Ward Crocker is the story of Peat, a toad, and Paul-Paulette, an earthworm, and their friend, a Christmas fern, who live in an urban woodland staked out to be cleared for a housing development. They are unexpectedly transported to the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. by ladies participating in the annual Festival of Flowers. Peat is discovered and left outside in the Garth, a nearby garden. The worm was brought inside with the fern. The story tells how Peat was reunited with his friends and how they found a new home. Anne Ward Crocker is a native of Cambridge, Maryland, lived most of her life in Northern Virginia, currently in Winchester. After graduating from the University of Maryland in 1951, she was employed in Washington, D.C. for 10 years before retiring to raise a family. She has 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and 9 great-grandchildren. A lifelong lover of nature, she's been involved in the church activities all of her life, has been a regular visitor to the Washington National Cathedral. And Anne Ward Crocker, author of the delightful children's book, Close Friends Cathedral Adventure, is our guest on This Week in America. Hi, Anne. Welcome to the program. A pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a real honor.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here to talk about this book. I love what you've done. I love the story. I love the story of the story. How this took literally decades to get the story from start to finish. We'll talk about that on the program today. The Washington Cathedral, National Cathedral, something that's of interest to all of us, the architecture, the history. When did you first visit the National Cathedral?
I first visited as a student at the University of Maryland in 1948. At that time, it was far from finished. The place where the altar and the choir was constructed, and the north transept. But it was open and drafty, and not at all like you can see it now.
That's interesting, and as you read the book, you will, and your children be able to see the little bit of the architecture behind the scenes of the cathedral. Have you? I mentioned you're a lifelong lover of animals and plants. Have you always been interested in plants or a gardener? And you're now living at Shenandoah Valley, Winchester, Canterbury. Are you able to continue your gardening there?
Oh, absolutely. I've been here for almost 18 years, and I no longer have a raised garden in the residence garden, but I do have many houseplants and enjoy them. When I had my own garden, I raised blueberries, and when other people were growing tomatoes, but it was fun, and I do enjoy plants. But I'm also a member of the Virginia Native Plant Society, and wildflowers have always been of interest and joy to me.
And that's a big part of the story. The story is Close Friends Cathedral Adventure by Anne Ward Crocker, the book available wherever books are sold. If you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you'll have information, link on directly to Anne's page on Amazon. You can get information, order the book there as well. A delightful children's story, as we're talking about on the program today. Talk about the interest in gardening and the outdoors. Also, obviously, maybe toads and earthworms, two of the main characters in the book. How far does that go back? As a child, were you interested in those?
Well, not anymore, although I think about them constantly. Did you know that it was Charles Darwin that introduced the world to the importance of earthworms? He considered them one of the most important animals on Earth because of what they do to the soil. But anyway, when I was writing the story, I had to give this toad a friend. Have we explained how he got to the cathedral?
No, and I think we'll do that. I was laying some groundwork, and we'll do that. In fact, let's talk about doing that now. The story behind the Peat and how he gets to the cathedral, and the fact that this really is based on your real life experiences, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The first part of this is absolutely true. Yeah, we were asked to create a flower project, I guess you could call it, at the cathedral. This was the third one we did out of the total of 4. and we were assigned the Park Close stairs. Park Close means the stairs that goes down to the close. And the close in this book, as well as the story, refers to the grounds around the cathedral close. Anyway, we decided to do it in wildflowers because we had access to them from a property that was being developed for housing development. So we had plenty of ferns and plenty of wildflowers in the spring. So we dug them up and took them to the cathedral. And on my way up the stairs, here was this little toad in one of the plants. And I couldn't take him into the cathedral. So I put him in the Garth, which is a small garden beside the stairwell, and left him there. And then, of course, proceeded with our projects, was very well received. So anyway, he haunted me. I couldn't get him out of my mind because I knew that he was not in a place that was a good habitat for toads. So, but there was on the other side of the cathedral, there was this large 5-acre woods, and I had to get him from one side of the cathedral to the other, but I had to get him together with his friends. So anyway, I've talked too much.
No. That's why we're having you here, to explain the background and to explain the story. And it's such a delightful story. And really, when you left that project, when you left the cathedral, you were concerned about the toad, weren't you? This sort of inspired.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Inspired you taking writing lessons so you could write a book about it.
But I've written many things over the course of my lifetime, but this one I really needed to, I thought I needed some instruction, and I don't know how well it is. It's not that well written, I don't think, but it's a story I had to tell, and it's been fun.
Well, it's very well written. It's very descriptive. We all feel like kids as we're watching the story unfold. The book is designed for young people, but read by adults as well. And you'll learn something on a number of levels in reading the book by Anne. It's Close Friends, Cathedral Adventure by Anne, A-N-N-E, Ward Crocker. You'll find the book available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all of the usual places. You mentioned that you've written other things as well. You had a newspaper column years ago, and writing came out of that. What are some of the other books, articles that you've written?
Well, I've written, I guess you call them monographs, of the history of the church that St. Timothy's in Herndon, and also of our neighborhood, which was an interesting project. And I've written about Our Lady in history for the church, which was a contest, and the prize was mentioned or featured in a calendar, and she turned out to be Miss December. So, and then I've written haikus all my life too, but they're snippets of memories that I like to read now for just to remind myself of beautiful things and of nature and wonderful things.
You know, there's a great message in that, I think, for all of us to write things down. If it's in haiku form, other forms of poetry, or just writing it down in a diary, and then keep them as well. How meaningful is that? How enjoyable is that for you to go back and to read some of the haikus that you've saved over the decades, telling stories of you, your life, your family? How enjoyable is that for you?
Oh, it's quite enjoyable because thank God my memory is pretty good at this point, except for, I do remember what I had for breakfast, but these are little snippets of 17 syllables of nature things, birds that I see, trees, sunsets, and one of the most interesting is house sparrows, because when I'm standing in line anywhere, particularly in Lowe's flower shop, there are a lot of house sparrows that live in that garden shop, and so rather than just stew and worry and fuss, I just concentrate on those little house sparrows and come up with a little story.
The book is so delightful, as it is having Ann on the program to discuss the book, her career, her life. The book is Close Friends Cathedral Adventure. It's available, again, wherever books are sold, and we'll give you a direct link on our website to Ann's page on Amazon and get information there as well. In the book, you include death. And the book for children, and some would say, why did you do that? And talk about that. A very interesting reason that you incorporated that in the book. And again, the book, Close Friends Cathedral Adventure Adventure, a children's book by Ann Ward Crocker. Talk about that. And a lot of that is from personal experiences, isn't it?
Yes. When my husband and I were first married, we lost our first child. She was stillborn. And the second one was born with cancer of the eye, retinoblastoma. And she died at age 3. So we coped with death at a very early stage in our marriage. In my life, I was in 20s and early 30s. And so I just feel that people should think about it more often than they really do, and certainly not feel it, fear it. Doesn't, but it's been, and then I worried about how does God cope, or how do the lives of small animals that live in constant fear of being eaten and stomped on cope? So.
Well, yes, and that's something you watch, like the nature series on PBS, and you see all of these animals literally hour to hour fighting for their survival as they're out there. So death is an important part of our lives, and addressed in an appropriate way in Close Friends Cathedral Adventure by Ann Ward Crocker, who is our guest on the program. You've seen so much in your lifetime, and you keep obviously a positive attitude. And I'm sure it's been difficult with what you've gone through. How do you keep a positive attitude? What encourages you every day to get up and make the most out of that day?
Well, thank God for life, for starters.
Yes.
Gratitude and attitude are very, very important, and how you endure what must be endured is certainly more important than that which must be endured. So when my husband was suffering from dementia, that got me through day by day, sometimes minute by minute. So it's a positive attitude, I think, is my main lead on.
Well, and that comes through in Ann's book, Close Friends Cathedral Adventure, again available wherever books are sold. Who inspired you? What modern authors inspired your writing?
Well, Rachel Carson, certainly, in the early 50s, her The Sea Around Us was an eye-opener for me. As a matter of fact, I went as The Sea Around Us to a Halloween party one year when I was young. Robin Kimmerer and her books, Braiding Sweetgrass, and the latest one about Juneberries, and Mary Tucker Grimm of Princeton, and certainly Anne Lamott. And her books I enjoy reading.
I love the inspiration that you get for writing from these published authors and from your life. And out of your life came this book, Close Friends Cathedral Adventure by Ann Ward Crocker, our guest on the program. What inspired you to write the book, especially the persistence that you showed in doing this, carrying this thought through from, I tell you what, when you started writing, you wrote on an onion skin with carbon paper and you finished up on computer. To talk about that time frame in there, what was it that was so important to you about this story that you really wanted to tell and share, especially with young people?
Well, I didn't start out to write a book. I just was writing a piece for my own enjoyment, but I had to get this toad into the woods on the other side of the cathedral. But and then after the class that I took at the community center, not the community center, the community college. The I only got him out of Herndon. I didn't get him to the cathedral. So he didn't have he had the earthworm friend at that point. Anyway, I put all the writing and paint pictures and things I would cut out and information on earthworms and Christmas ferns and so forth in a box, and added to that box year after year after year. So about 6 years ago, I decided I needed to close the loose ends of my life, and it got back to the story. And by that time, I was on a computer, typewriter long gone, and that's and finished it at that, or got involved in it at that point.
Yes, and now the book is available and doing really well. And you've been involved in the arts, been involved in animals and the environment as we talked about. What other types of employment have you pursued during your career? An interesting career in the beginning. So you traveled through all the different neighborhoods as they were developing in the greater Washington, D.C. area. What other projects have you been involved in?
Well, when I was first out of college, I worked for Marriott as a food manager of a small cafeteria. But that got old in a hurry because I only had a Tuesday off, and I had to go to church didn't necessarily have to be Sunday. But anyway, then I was up in I knew too much. I knew about how the kitchens operated. And anyway, then they found me a job in personnel, which I pursued for several years. But then, I won't go into it. But after that, I went with the Washington Gas Light Company as a professional home economist and home service representative. And we were given company cars and assigned territories. And we visited people in their homes to demonstrate their new gas equipment. So we would test their ovens to see if the temperature was correct and show them how to clean it and that kind of thing. You couldn't do that now, of course, but it was a great job. And those of us that did it still get together. There are a few of us that are left.
An amazing career that you've had, and it continues with the writing of this book. A few minutes left in the program. Let's talk about your fascination. A big part of your life has been birds. Talk about that, how important that is, and how important it is for us. So often we take advantage. We're outside and we don't take advantage of what's there. We don't look in the trees. We don't follow the noises that we hear, the things that we fly by us. How important is it to enjoy nature? It's been a big part of your life in being out there, very active in bird watching.
Yes, it has. All my life I've been interested in birds and enjoying them, and was lucky enough to have friends that were knowledgeable and introduced me to the what to look for. And but you don't have to go looking. Sometimes they come to you, like those house sparrows in Lowe's or in a parking lot. If you're waiting for the car to cool down on a hot summer day, and the house sparrows are in the trees. But I've also birded in England and Hawaii and Alaska. So and those birds are extraordinary. So it's a lifetime hobby, and I hardly recommend it because here I am at the end, and I can still go out and look at fine birds.
And I would guess for you, when you see something, an unusual bird or a bird that's just back for the season, it's as exciting now as it was back in 1950 when you were looking at them.
Yes and no, because there's so fewer of them.
Well, that was my next question.
The population has just tanked. It's so distressing. And in the 18 years I've been here at Westminster Canterbury, and I see birds overlooking my balcony, and of course hummingbirds come into the balcony, but there's so so many. However, we have a very active Mother Nature team here and a nature preserve, and the bluebird houses that they put up in the last several years have been successful. So we have bluebirds now, and it's encouraging. And here, at least, we're doing things right.
I was curious about that, and you answered that question with the last answer. You've been involved in census taking of birds for the Audubon Society for years. You're out dealing with bird populations. I was going to ask if you've seen a decrease, because we hear so much about that, and the answer is obviously yes, and we need to be aware of that and protect and do a little bit better of stewards of what we've been given. And the time has gone by so quickly. I really appreciated the opportunity to have you on the program to talk about your career, to talk about this book, Close Friends Cathedral Adventure by Anne Ward Crocker. Are you working on anything else? I know you went back through a whole lot of family notes over the years, and sort of out of that came part of the impetus to write this. Are you working on anything else now?
I'm always working on something. I've still got the genealogy to put together, but it's changed a lot since Ancestry came into being, because all the papers that I have are now available on my Ancestry. So, but I need to organize it. That's the main one.
You know, it's interesting as all of us age, we keep thinking, how are we going to do this? What are we going to be able to do? I don't want to say your age. If you would like to share it, that would be fine. But you really are keeping young. You sound as excited about what you're doing and taking each day as it comes as probably 40 or 50 years ago. Is that what keeps you young? Is all of the mental exercises you're involved in, being outdoors, being with nature?
I would have to say yes, and I've always been interested in everything. If opportunity knocks, you open the door, and with a little bit of luck, you can go right on through. But oh yes, but I'll be 95 in July.
That is absolutely amazing. And if opportunity knocks, it could be a woodpecker. So go to the door and
absolutely,
go to the door and make sure you answer it. What a delightful conversation today with Anne Ward Crocker, Anne, A-N-N-E. The book is Close Friends Cathedral Adventure. You'll find it wherever books are sold, directed to Amazon, the Amazon page on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And a pleasure. Hopefully we can do this again. Thank you for being with us on the program.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Great to have you with us once again. Anne Ward Crocker is our guest. Information on her book and a link on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Back on today's program right after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.